Half of her face is a woman. The other half is already dead, not painted, not cursed. Born that way, flesh on one side, rot on the other. A body that never got to choose which half of her would live. She doesn't chase you. She doesn't threaten you. She just looks at you, like someone who has already watched your future decay. That isn't horror. That's certainty. And Odin looked at that child, his own blood, and made a decision no father should be capable of making. He didn't kill her. He did something worse. He gave her a kingdom made of nothing, ruled by nobody, and told the universe to forget she existed. What happens to a god raised to believe she's a monster, when one day the monster is the only thing keeping Asgard alive? Strip away the capes, strip away the CGI. The comic book version of this woman is a costume, green and black, a smirk, a villain built for a movie poster. That version is a lie of convenience. The real one is older, colder, and far more dangerous to look at. In the halls of Asgard, gold does not forgive weakness. Every child born there is measured against war, against beauty, against usefulness to the throne. Hela was measured differently. Half of her body already claimed by death before she took her first step. The healers said nothing. The nursemaids looked away, and whispers started moving faster than the girl could ever outrun them. She was not raised. She was contained. A prophecy attached itself to her before her personality did. Seers spoke of a daughter who would one day command the dead, and Asgard, a court that worshipped strength but feared what it couldn't control, decided the safest cage for a threat like that was distance. Not a sword, not an execution. Something slower, something the court could live with. They sent her away, not to a neighboring realm, not to exile in comfort. They sent her to the one place in the 9 realms where nothing survives twice. Niflheim, the primordial abyss of fog and frost that existed before Asgard itself had a name. A realm so hostile it isn't described as cold. It's described as absence. No warmth, no mercy, no witnesses. This is where a father sent his daughter. Picture the moment it became real. Not a battlefield, not a trial, a throne room gone silent. Every noble in Asgard suddenly finding something else to look at. Odin doesn't shout the sentence. He doesn't need to. He says one word, Niflheim. And something in the girl standing in front of him breaks in a way no sword ever could. Not because of the word itself, because of how easily it left his mouth. Rehearsed, already decided. A verdict dressed up as a conversation she was never actually part of. She didn't ask him to reconsider. By the time he finished the sentence, she already understood there was nothing left to argue. And here is the detail that should stop you cold. He called it an appointment, a position, as if handing a child to the void was an honor, not a sentence. Odin didn't banish Hela like a criminal. He promoted her into isolation, dressed abandonment up as duty, and let the rest of Asgard applaud the wisdom of it. That is not parenting. That is political disposal with a crown on top. Here's what nobody tells you about Niflheim. The cold isn't the punishment. The silence is. Picture it. No seasons, no sunrise, no sound but your own breath freezing in front of your face. A girl who once stood in the golden light of Asgard's court now hears nothing but wind moving through nothing, day after day, for longer than most kingdoms survive. Odin didn't need a wall to imprison her. He used a climate. Niflheim itself became the cage. No guards required, because nothing escapes a realm engineered to erase whoever enters it. Most would have broken. Most would have vanished into the fog completely, another forgotten name swallowed by frost. Hela didn't break. She adapted. Grief that isn't allowed to be spoken out loud doesn't disappear. It compresses. It hardens. Somewhere in that grey something in her stopped waiting to be rescued and started building. If Asgard would not give her a home, she would carve a throne from the place they thought was empty. If they called her death itself, she'd stop flinching at the word and start wearing it like armor. By the time anyone in Asgard thought to check on her again, the girl they abandoned was gone. What replaced her was something they didn't have a name for yet. Valhalla gets the songs. Valhalla gets the poems, the golden mead halls, the endless feast for warriors who died with a sword in hand. Every bard in the 9 realms knows how to sing about that afterlife. Nobody sings about the rest. The farmers, the mothers who died in childbirth, the old men who never swung a blade in their life. Asgard's entire cosmology was built on a brutal filter: die gloriously, or don't matter at all. And every soul that didn't make the cut had to go somewhere. They went to her. In the hall of Eljudnir, Hela built something Asgard never bothered to build: dignity for the forgotten. Not glory, not feasting, but order, a place. A ruler who didn't ask what your death looked like before deciding if you deserved a seat. Sit with that for a second. The being Asgard branded a monster is the only one in the entire cosmology who showed up for the dead nobody else wanted. Who's the villain in that story again? Every civilization needs a monster. Not because the monster is dangerous, because the monster is useful. It gives the frightened something to point at instead of themselves. Asgard feared death the way every immortal court secretly does. Quietly, constantly, underneath all that armor and gold. And rather than face that fear directly, they did what frightened kingdoms always do. They built a body to project it onto. A daughter, split half alive and half dead, became the perfect vessel for every nightmare Asgard refused to say out loud. Call her a monster, and you never have to call yourself a coward for fearing your own mortality. She looked exactly like the future waiting for them. No gold could hide it, no feast delayed it, no hammer shattered it. When a face reflects a truth a court cannot bear, that court doesn't blame itself, it attacks the mirror. But mirrors don't create monsters, they just reveal them. But look again at what she actually did with the power they handed her in exile. She didn't hunt Asgard's warriors, she didn't burn their halls. She built a functioning realm out of frost and silence, gave the unclaimed dead a place to belong, and asked for nothing from the gods who threw her away. The monster was never in Niflheim. The monster signed the order that sent a child there. Here is the part Asgard never saw coming. The prophecy they exiled her to prevent. It doesn't end with Hela attacking the golden halls out of revenge. It ends with Ragnarok. And on that final day, it is her dead, the dishonored, the forgotten, the ones Valhalla never wanted, who rise and march against the very gods who decided they weren't worth remembering. Every soul Asgard discarded becomes the army that ends it. The frost Odin exiled her into was never a punishment that stayed contained. It was a debt, collecting interest in silence for centuries, waiting for the one day the golden halls could no longer look away from what they built. And the coldest part of that ending isn't the war, it's the math. Asgard's fire, for all its glory, always burns out. Frost doesn't rage. Frost doesn't need to. It simply outlasts.